Thanks for coming to the Central City Neighborhood Council. We're going to start the meeting. We're starting the meeting, so let's go ahead. Thanks, everybody. Okay. So we're gonna start with a welcome. Oh, hey, welcome everybody. We're starting the meeting. Here we go. Let's nice talking to them. Everyone's talking. Hopefully stay at. I'm Austin Taylor, volunteer at the Central City Neighborhood Council. We welcome everybody today to October Central City Neighborhood Council meeting. On our agenda today, we have two big things that will be on your ballot that we're talking about. So you arranged presenters from both the Salt Lake City School District and Salt Lake County to talk about their big bonds that they're proposing on our ballots. So are the presenters here from either of those groups yet? No. So we're hoping that they show up in the next 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure they will. Let's go around, introduce. If you're a resident, say more or less where you live. If you're not a resident, say why you're here. So I'll start. I'm Austin Taylor. I live at about 7th South and 4th East in Central City.
Hey everyone, I'm Ava. I live at the corner of 313, somewhere around. You'll find me in East Central.
I'm Julian. I live 800 East and 600 South approximately.
We're neighbors.
Wait, you said sorry, 8 East, 6 South, was that right?
Yeah.
Okay, just FYI, that's in East Central.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's good. No, it's good to be here, but also
okay.
I love East Central.
we're scrappier. They have they have more first world problems.
Oh, okay.
We have more big problems.
Hey, now.
Wait, this is recorded.
Oh. There goes Austin's career.
I'm done. Okay, sorry, over you.
I lived in District 4 for about 25 years, but I just got bumped half a block into District 5. But I figured I'd time.
We'll adopt you, yes. We'll talk to you about it.
As soon as it's open to the public.
Well, we have
Yes.
District 5 now.
Oh,
We
okay.
do.
I don't want to break any of the rules.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, Central City is our neighborhood boundaries are State Street to 7th East, and then South Temple to 9th South, except Liberty Park. Yeah.
It's two nights off,
The north side of Mexico.
and I am in the district.
Yes. Welcome. Thanks. Okay, let's go to Brianna and then Dan.
Chair and President. Thanks to Richmond Park.
I'm Troy, I'm the transportation committee lead, and on that 2nd South Northeast.
City, 9 million.
My name is Greg Roth, I live near, Siblings,
Which is.
about 30.
Tim Powers, City Mayor's Office, Citywide Liaison, District 4. I'm Brett Anderson. I live on 300 East between 1st and 2nd South.
I'm Steve Finale with Salt Lake City Small Engagement and Response Team.
I'm Jenny Starley. I live at approximately 800 South and 3rd East. And I'm Katie Obrey. I'm the facility director at Central City Recreation Center.
Well, and then fire.
Hello, I'm Dave. I'm a firefighter Station 1, so
Best station.
I live in this district.
Nice.
I'm Devin from that same station, Station 1, 2nd South and East.
I'm Captain Burton, same station, third of my life here. First 17 years in the career, let's say 5, so like that. So familiar with both districts, if there are questions.
Well, thanks. Okay, we're going to transition to committee. Oh, Murray, Detective Stewart, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Detective Stewart. I'm the community liaison for Districts 3 and 4 and the police department.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go to committee updates, and do you want to talk at events first?
Sure.
So we have our big pizza in the park event next Friday from 5 to 7. We'll have live music by our own Austin Taylor, starting at 5 o'clock.
A band.
And yeah, and it's band.
The headliner.
And pizza will probably be served around 6 p.m. and we'd love to have you and eat some pizza, mingle with your neighbors and just hang out. So next Friday, Richmond Park, 5 o'clock. And then can I keep going? We are going to have executive board elections next month. All positions are open, so there'll be a chair position, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. And anyone who lives in the boundaries or owns a business is eligible to run. You also need to have attended at least 3 meetings this past year. And we are going to send out an email in the next week or so with all the details. So keep an eye open for that and let me know if you have any questions or are interested and need more info. We would love to have you. We need to keep this going into 2025. And so it'd be great to have some new business. So I think that's all.
Thanks.
Transportation.
Yeah, the main big upgrade for transportation. We did submit a CIP for transportation. So we had 2 main ones, like contenders. The one that we did last year was 600 south, and we decided not to do that again because the grant awards concept like plan is being funded now. And the city doesn't like to rebuild things and get succession like that. So we decided not to reapply for the same CIP. The second one we were thinking of was 700 south, 700 east, which there was actually just a crash.
Yeah.
You saw the
They
headlights.
don't.
Yeah. So that we had the idea there to build like a hawk crossing, so that's the one where you push the button and you cross. I actually talked to the transportation director and he said a similar setup, 700 east cost in 15 hours. So that's out of the ball for the CIP. And it's not to say that we can't push for that, we still can do that. But there is a study that supports that, the Solid City pedestrian and bike plan actually has a crossing improvement there. Just for CIP, that wasn't quite feasible, but the amount of money that we could get. So the last one was 600 east, like improving that byway. So that was one of the first neighborhood byways that Solid City put in. There aren't really any improvements that they've actually done to it. They just put in some markings and some light rings. They did a crossing improvement at 8 South. But if you read that article about the crash in 70s, there was a second crash within an hour at 60s and 8 South. And I already had ideas for improving that, making that crossing even safer. And clearly it's needed. I don't know the details and what happens today, but the CIP would be focusing on improving that entire stretch of Central City from South Temple all the way to the next south, focusing on crossings and kind of fixing up like the kind of pain points, maybe the Trader Joe's area in that parking lot, things like that. Kind of the higher traffic areas, adding some protection for people walking and biking.
Yeah, quick suggestion.
Yeah.
We're in, as city council, we're in the middle of discussing our funding priorities. And part of this, even though it's related to transportation, would be helpful if we could include the boundaries. So most of District 4 is actually HUD eligible, but it's not currently being recommended by community and neighborhoods department to be included. So it's something that I mentioned on Tuesday, but I think it would be significant to what you're trying to improve in the neighborhood as well. So if you could take a look at that and write it into the mayor's office, they have a lot of ability to help change that office at all. It would be helpful.
Can you repeat what that is? Exactly. Yeah.
It's federal funding. It's not just related to housing, but I can send it to you. I don't have the information on it in front of me. But in short, our sidewalk repair funds come out of HUD funding. There's a lot of different housing fund availability as well. But we get to set the priorities of how we spend it and how we base our matrix off of for the application to that as well. Nonprofits get to apply, so I can't remember if Central City is a nonprofit. Okay,
Is
so
this CDBG or different?
partly is CDBG, and that's related to sidewalks, but just when we think about built environments, this is something that's often left out that has the.
Yeah, thanks. But there's the main it's really the CIP was the big thing. But if there are any questions about any of the projects that have been happening, let me know. You said 600 East? Yes, but only to 900 South. Yeah, so that would be to Liberty Park, so everyone's, yeah. Because I was gonna say, well, south of there, we can get some additional lighting, but I guess it's not. Yeah, and you should submit that, there's a lighting program manager. It wasn't that helpful when I contacted them, but you can make requests and see if they can install a light. The reason they gave them name for my request was that they were not on my server. And I thought that wasn't a good reason, but I thought they could do something else, but that's just my experience with. It's great. Yeah.
Thanks, Trevor.
Cindy, do you want to talk about your meeting?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I had one of those lifetime experiences where in 5 hours of meeting, I saw more drug activity than I've seen in my entire life, which is, that's a lot of time. Anyway, so in late August after the rains, I went in and I meted at Toffer, where we got a donation of the hubris and humor houses, right on the south side. And so Brandon came and helped spot drug stuff in the weeds. So that's great. Anyway, I'd like to, when we get some rain, have a couple meeting parties, one at the Artesian Well and another one at Hawker Park. And I got a system for making sure it's safe to reach into the weeds. So pretty confident that was system. And I think can we just put it on social media for alert people? If you give me your name and number tonight, I'll contact you, but I'm just waiting for some rain. To do that, and I mean, aside from the fact that it works better, they're not places to hide drug paraphernalia since I read it.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Thanks, Cindy. Yeah, we'll put it out for a newsletter. If you're not on the newsletter, make sure you are. We get a pretty good open rate on it. We get like 60% open on our like 200 or 300 person list. So that's what we use primarily to contact people. Thanks. And then just quickly from like land use perspective. City Council approved the rezone of the Intermountain Health Block after negotiating some pretty important things in urban design, like better green space in the center of the block and then better street activation along the sidewalks, especially on the corners and especially on Main Street. So that was really nice. I think everyone's, most people that I talked to are very excited to see a hospital and the economic development, the jobs that provides. And then also we can't share which developer this is, which landlord, but we talk often about 300 East and the properties that are mismanaged there between First South and Second South. And there is a local developer that already owns a lot of properties in the area that is under contract on the mismanaged properties. And if everything goes well, they'll apply for tax credits, which will fund the rehab of those buildings. So they'll get up to date, the rents will stay low, and these guys are way better at property management. So I don't think we'll see the kind of issues that we see now if they can purchase it and get the tax credits and everything. So I'll keep you all posted on that.
One more. Oh, no, go ahead.
I just had a random, I just forgot to mention that to you too as well. I talked to the transportation director and I talked about 400 East, like just changing the striping to be to have like lanes on it. So the part that's above this now that it was untouched for the resurfacing last year. But they said they're actually thinking of putting out in the reconstruction list in the next 2 to 3 years. Which is surprising because I don't think it's that bad. No, I actually think 300 East is way worse when you're above Fort Stop. I'm sure people out there might agree with the models are horrendous on 30s. But I don't know if anyone has thoughts on that, because I can relay that back to transportation, how we to.
So we talked about this like almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the Essentials Community Master Plan from the 90s calls for a tree median. And that's a lot of people would like the idea of the tree median, just like on 60s and 80s. So
I should say that their reconstruction would literally be like milling 8 inches and putting it back. So they would be putting any trees and medians or maybe on curbs, because that street is maybe 3 times wider than it needs to be. It's a really low traffic residential street, even all the way out to South Temple. But they would literally replace it as is, which is not that helpful for safety and for this neighborhood. So I don't like, I would prefer 30 stop fix because that's already in their street. And the gutter is breaking and there's like, you can fall into the hole. If you go up there, you go in your wheel light when your car and you fall into the hole. So it's a pretty bad street, but if there's any feelings about that, I would actually ask that they prioritize their east first or northeast. Because reconstructions are big projects and they won't do them at the same time, especially when they're next to each other.
Okay, if we're good for committee updates. I think we're good, Rhiannon. Okay, we're gonna move along to city updates now. You wanna start, Rhiannon?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Councilmember Chavez here. In front of you, you have received the reports, they're here. I just wanted to go over, really quickly, last night, we were able to vote on, again, to repeat what Austin said, IHC rezone, which is very exciting. We were able to get ground floor level activation. We were able to rezone to allow for a hospital there. As a reminder, District Board has actually the highest utility use for their mental health services. So the nonprofit hospital, which is IC majority is a nonprofit run, they see a need to help unite with the general with the community. And so their lobbyist and I are still working on how do we get UDOT to do a midway crosswalk and so hopefully safe so that we will have at least half of the distance into the hospital. So we're still not done with the project, but we're really excited because they get to break ground on it, which is what they wanted to do. Again, urban hospitals are good. It's going to change the flood pattern. We've talked about this, and eventually they'll decommission LBS Hospital up there. Do you have any questions about that? I'm really excited for it. I know there's a lot of emphasis from the business community on the food truck plaza. I'm more privy to the services they're going to provide for both the nurses and staffing that they're going to bring into the city. So we understand that they need to create an ecosystem, potentially a market rate daycare center, all of us to use. As well as their parking lot that they're going to build. We had asked that they keep it open and create with the market or free public parking in that area to allow for more activation. So we don't want to see increase of parking. They do have a utility, you know, there's an environment to be made for the permanent chronic services or for visitation needs that the hospital needs. That's a great way to collaborate and build a positive ecosystem. Any questions? Awesome. Of construction? I have not spoken to whether or not they have to,
It's not even decided.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They were saying at the meeting that we went to, that when it started for around 4 years would be a building, just because it takes a lot longer to build a hospital.
Oh,
Than just
yeah,
like a tower.
it's not that very.
So it's probably 5 years at least, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They're committed long, I mean, they're committed for a century or more. You know, so it's really exciting. I think it's gonna be a good thing. And we really make sure that even though it's all premeditated, that they understand the routes and to avoid, really any residential to take those grand boulevards on and off for when they need to reach. Really, the best thing is they're situated in a way where West Side are 40+ minutes to get to the hospital. That's undignified, quite frankly. No one should have to wait to go to the ER. So it's really exciting, and centrally located. The second big vote we took, which is why I'm so tired, is the entertainment district. So you may have heard of it, SECC, so Sports Entertainment Culture Convention. In the 9th hour, again, we're able to negotiate. It's not an amendment, but it's a legislative intent. It commits the city council, the preservation, coordination, and operational funds of Bravo Hall. And the new placement of MOPA. MOPA is not likely to stay at its current location, but to know that there will be an apparatus to help place them. I think they're pretty excited by them. The best part of the deal has been the public benefits. I reiterated them last night. But just quickly, again, this is job training that didn't exist before. This is direct funding into arts, $5 million of public art, and $2 million of that specifically for an iconic sculpture building in downtown. A lot more amenities related to affordable housing, obviously Japantown, the preservation of Japantown Street and other amenities to bring out its coastal revitalization. And of course, the best one is our public benefit fund. This is the additive scale tiered addition to ticket sales that we'll collect. That's not normally a process that's allowed. It's a miracle that the legislative commission allowed this actually. So we feel as a city council, I hope you each feel that there is great reinvestment coming into your downtown and your city. This alone will not create tax revenue. It's the ecosystem around it. So it's an investment, which means we're all accountable to its growth, to its creation. And because this is still a visionary process, we have yet to see an application, a pro forma, designs contributed to this. The best part is we did not sign off on an administrative review. The council said, no, we want the design review, which is our current process that any developer in our city would have to go through. Because it still goes through our commission, it goes through planning, it still goes to city council. Will be multiple levers and filters so that the public can still collaborate with us and be a part of this investment, with all buying into it. So it's really critical that we stay engaged. I'm really excited about it. I want to give the opportunity for you all to digest and ask any questions. That'll take you probably
But did you say $2 million for sculpture?
up to 2 million.
Where like, that's.
Think
that's
to be,
crazy.
yeah, no, it's huge.
Like, where would it be? What would it be?
At the Metals Plaza,
Okay.
likely on the Metals Plaza. I mean, they haven't given us an application, but the best part is that we would get, they're thinking something as big as Chicago Bean, think big, iconic, giant, humongo. Yeah,
That is $200.
yes.
Any of that money be allocated towards, homeless mitigation or resources?
So the mitigation plans, we get to come up with them with SUG still. It will it's likely to come out of that 100 million, the public benefit fund. Most of the public benefits, for example, what I had negotiated last time in legislative attempt, which mayor's now calling Salt Lake City tickets for transit, which is that free zone that we talked about. If you have, jazz ticket or ticket to go to a game, I think the University of Utah is still doing it. The Jazz had not done any corrections. The Jazz and NHL tickets will not count for that. So that's an example where that benefit fund will continue to grow over the 30 years when we get to use it. City council has complete oversight over it. So we don't need SCG's permission. We get to spend that. Yeah.
I think you've minimized your role in getting safety net under Robin Paul. The only other elected official I know that stepped out, Scott Weiler, in the state senate. So thank you very much. It's been a long slog, months and months of time. 4,000 people signing a petition to support the continuous. And I don't know what you had to do behind the scenes to get people moving, but thank you.
You know what? I can say that because we have a representative from the county mayor's office. I had a conversation with the county mayor in Wilson, and she's so committed to the preservation of both. We're now on the hook as state, as county government officials, as city officials of all levels to come up with its funding and to come up with a long-term plan. And yeah, as you say, you're here, so you can speak on behalf of Mayor Wilson.
Next week, the county council will be adopting a resolution, so it's not just a proclamation, which is purely ceremony, it's an actual resolution committing to the preservation of the hall itself. So the interior hall will be preserved.
They could have accomplished a lot of other things while people were standing around in line for the last 6 months or however long. I really appreciate council member Lucas Chavin's leadership on this. It took a lot of people, which wasted time. They could have been doing other things because they were all really talented.
So this is where we go back to accountability. That's our word of the day. Don't forget it. Theme of the year, accountability. We have to stay accountable and keep SCG accountable to this project. There are several many design reviews to come out. There's still phase 2 of their design, so those 2 parcels east of the Delta Center, they have yet to reveal to us their intentions with it. But I can assure you, Utah Symphony and Utah Opera told them half the battle was to preserve your home, the other half is construction mitigation, ensuring that there is no disruption to the current order. We have a beautiful downtown. It's not in disarray. It is reviving its own, and even with or without SEG, we have immense historic investment coming in from all over the country, from within our state. And so see this as a partnership. I want you to imagine it as a partnership. You're gonna hear of all sorts of things. There were comments about referendums. I'm gonna tell you something. Our downtown is going to see a renaissance like ever before. So my priorities moving forward with this are homelessness mitigation. That's my top one, specifically on our parks right now. But it's gonna be something that I look at with our team. We're researching it along with the mayor's office right now on different strategies. As well as our construction mitigation. Our small businesses have the most to gain in the downtown right now. And they've been suffering because of construction, because of a lack of, quite frankly, remote work has affected different trends and economic trends. We've started to measure that data as well. This is a good thing, and I hope you can find the vitality in it. I'm not trying to oversell it on you. I'm gonna be paying also for the next 30 years. I can assure you, preserving that hall is priceless. So if this is the deal we had to make with the devil to get a better outcome for our city, better outcome for our architectural gems. I can assure you, this is something we didn't make with haste, we deliberated it, obviously I lost sleep over it, so. It's really important for me to see this through, so please don't stop writing in. Thank you for the applause, but I really want you to write in and push me to do better. I think all of us on the city council can do a lot better to represent our city right now. So. If you'll turn your attention real quick, this will be the last thing. I wanted to give you a quick update. I wanted to thank you for your attention, Topher, Richmond, and Artesian Wall. Yes, we still have encampments. Yes, we still have homelessness out there. But we soon will have our winter shelter because the state just opened their micro shelter. We now have 50 spaces, at least that I know of, in the shelter. And hopefully you can give us a report on that, but we have the attention of our downtown patrol and division, as well as the central city division, and RIT, which is our cleanup crew, a rapid response and intervention team that helps with our parks and public lands. So I just had some instructions there on how you can report trash, waste, encampments if you see them. Any other type of reporting that you see, please do that. Please continue to do that. I think we're making progress, especially when it comes to the safety and preservation of our parks, as well as our deficit that we see in maintenance. We saw that over the summer, but now that we're heading into fall and winter, we'll kind of calm down on some of this maintenance, but I hope we can pick up in the spring again. Please reach out. I'm starting to get my funding priorities for 2025. So I'm really excited that Tori's working on CIP. There's other funding priorities that are needed in the city. There's a lot of work to do in our neighborhoods, but a great example of what can happen when you have creative neighbors like Central City. I guess I'll announce it tonight. We have an art sculpture going into Central City at Trolley Square. It's the I Heart, the big heart SLC sculpture. I managed to get ahead of the curve. So before we had arm wrestle with city council members as to who gets it, I just put the money down and they give me a small budget as a council member to reach out to each of you. And I have let each of the community council chairs know. I'd rather have a big impact because I think our neighborhoods deserve it. Downtown is a fabulous place, but we often forget our neighborhoods that are anchoring this district as well. That's Central City and East Central. So we'll be announcing that soon, but it should be installed in about 4 to 5 minutes. And I'm pretty important. It doesn't have to go to art design review because the sculpture existed before, so we have permission to get ahead of it. It's huge. It's I think it's 10 by 12, so it's pretty big for an art sculpture. And Trolley and the owners of Trolley donated half of the funds for it. So super excited. So big deal. We haven't had an art installation since the whale. So with applause. Pretty excited for that. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go quickly through parks and fire in that order. Is that okay? And oh yeah. So I always feel really happy. Get out. You guys want to go first?
Yeah, unless Marie needs to go, so if she wants to go virtually, we're happy to have
That would be great.
You go first, really quick.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Nice to see you all here. So we have had some pretty big things happen within our department. Our captains reorganized and renamed into commanders. Part of that, we have a new commander over our vulnerable population division. It's a brand new division within our department. And our former captain Diamond, who was over Central City, is now the commander over our vulnerable population. So he has a lieutenant, and that is Lieutenant Davis. And our new commander is Commander Manzanares, who was our former lieutenant. And we have a new lieutenant, and his name is Lieutenant North. So really good things happening. The new division is it's phenomenal. Their main focus is downtown in Central City. So that's great. But the squad, the vulnerable population division, will be for ultimately for all three divisions, with their main focus being central. So the contact for that is Lieutenant Davis, and then their commander is Commander Diamond, which is really good because he was the one who was heading up all of the meetings for mitigation and shelter and so on and so forth. So good things there. Our property crime in Central City is slightly up. Our violent crime is about on par for the 3-year average. But with the property crime, we're thinking it might be just the uptick. So vehicle burglaries with the jazz starting and so on and so forth. But just a really good reminder to not leave any valuables in your vehicle. Just nothing, not even a jacket, because that is just, you'd be surprised what people break a window even for a phone charger. It's incredible to me. But with winter coming, let's keep up on all those nooks and crannies, and just start having conversations with people to get them into shelter, since we are starting to open up. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Looks like not. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, fire.
I think this is brief in the can. I presume monitors, as we did have that for the lower going on. Go with that. But like I said, I'm Captain Burton over at Fire Station 1, which is 500 East, 2nd South. And you mentioned the traffic today. We did have that tragic accident on 7th East. And then shortly within 30 minutes, we had another one on 8th South. Not as significant. Can't speak to the circumstances of those because they are under investigation. Tragic nonetheless. On that point, as guardian of our community, some of the things that we worry about is the safety of traffic. So I just want to remind everyone in the room, anybody with children, and as you commute through and travel through the city, especially in the morning hours, this is one of our times of year where we have the greatest significance of auto accidents, especially with children, because they're trying to get to school. And if you're heading east at all, you've got the sun just shining to children line of sight. So just please use caution. Traveling in the mornings this time. On that note, we've also got a lot of new UTA bus stops. As those have come in, they've divided where the sidewalk is, our scooter and bicycle lanes, and then the traffic. So as you're making turns, especially to the right, which usually are safer turns, we now only have a bus there, and then people coming rather quickly on bicycles and scooters. They're continuing through. The light will be green. You think you're clear, but there's 2 other lanes or modes of transportation. Just be cautious though. So I just stress throughout the community, share that word, just use caution. Traveling. Those bus stops and change of traffic patterns also have some new raised concrete portions. We don't know what those are going to look like in the snow this year. So be careful as you make the right hand turns, because it may be covered. And now you have that obstacle you're going to have right. So those are just cautions for me in this. Another kind of exciting program that we have with the fire department is we've got social workers that are out in the community working side by side with us. They're making a huge impact and difference. Our paramedics are now carrying, it's a drug, it's called Suboxone, it's buprenorphine and Suboxone. And we are administering that to overdose victims after we bring them back. It will help with their withdrawal symptoms and their cravings. The nice part of this program is we can initiate that in the event where they're having, difficulty breathing or they're unconscious. And then we can link them immediately through hospital services, social services, and recovery and addiction services right at the get-go. So they're coming out of it, people have just done CPR or breathes for the patients, they've administered lots of, and then we can use this drug to bridge their recovery. They're proving that it'll typically capture about 20 to 30% of the population will do better and stay in their recovery. It's new to us, and so Salt Lake City and West Valley City are the two pilots in the state. And it's exciting to work on this program because we've got a lot of homelessness, a lot of addiction, a lot of this.
Is there any information on that anywhere that you can read about?
I can get your contact. I don't know if they've released any of it officially, but our chat teams in particular, and my medical.
Okay, I can reach out to them.
Yeah, they'll have.
And is this everybody that has it, or is it just chat teams?
No, it's our paramedics are carrying that drug, but we are working with our social workers, so they come to that same call and use SAR. I don't know what that acronym, it's recovery, it's state. Funded, so I think we're right.
Addiction recovery.
Yeah, addiction recovery is something I know. So, on that note, our community council, our community newsletter is available online at slcfire.com. The message for this month is safety around Halloween. So there's some tips for costume safety, pumpkin safety, checking if it's candy. So you can find that on the website. There's also an invite to the public. It's free on October 10 at Fire Station 7, which is at 273 North and 1000 West. They're having a fire prevention week over this. So that's free to everybody. It's between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So we always typically do that in fall. Anyways, we also remind you to check your smoke detectors, all test them, change the batteries, and your carbon monoxide. So, is there any questions for the fire department?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, let's speak through.
Like Ava said, the micro shelter community opened. If you guys have any questions about that, you can come talk to me afterwards. The winter response stuff isn't really fully set. Other than, yeah, you want more information, that I can talk about that. They're still working on getting all the winter beds that we want.
Where's that shelter at this year?
It's 700 west, the micro shelter?
No, the winter.
Oh, so the ones that are approved now are the church ones. No,
Not decided yet?
What you're asking about, no, does not exist yet.
Okay.
they're.
So far, planning on continuing through the expansion of Flex, and the expansion at the HRCs that we saw, from last year, carried on through the summer. So carrying that through the winter, but as far as the extended versions, we are keeping also, just like last year, the Redwood facility in West Valley. And then hoping for another setup as well, another expansion, but that yet to be determined, finalized.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know.
Basically.
My SLC app or SLC mobile is gonna be dead here in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. The My SLC app is operational. So if you're having any issues with it, please, the way to report it is through the app. So if you're not able to do that, you can reach out to us and we'll figure it out. So like, yeah, if there's any issues, you just let, yeah.
So here's connected to the app, should it automatically connect you to the?
No.
You have to
So
create a
for-
account.
Yeah, so for me, it didn't work because I had something on through slc.gov for something completely different, so I didn't know, I don't know, it was weird. If you're having any issues, please reach out to us and we'll help you figure it out. It should work. Once you get through that first thing, yeah, I don't know. If you don't hear back from us in a couple of days, let us know also, we'll figure out why it's not working, at least if it's for us. Yeah, that's the thing, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Tim? Quick.
We got a resource fair next Friday at Pioneer Park.
Now, we're always short on time, and I always have a ton of things to share, and it's quite intimidating with conflicts, and legislative officials here at the same time. So I really feel on the spot. I did want to follow up with what Cindy said about Councilmember Chavez Lopez, and if you weren't able to listen in on the conversation last night, for all of the city council members to have this challenge thrust on them the first week of March, and only having since the first week of March, to be able to understand the complexities and the nuances and vet this, that you really get your money's worth. I just gotta say, every single city council member last night gave their position on why they supported the SEG improvement downtown culture and events. And it was some was very inspiring and some was very enlightening, but it was a change. It's a change. We're in a time we've never experienced before. And there's a lot coming with the Olympics, but just what's going on in our own neighborhood. At the granular level, there's a lot going on, and I just wanted to also voice my opinion, thanking the city council members for all that they do and sharing that. If you get a chance to listen to it, go back and look. Arts, culture, and events, our grant opening process, the funding that comes through the mayor's office is open. It opened October 1st. That's where you can apply to sponsor an event. Pizza in the Park is one of those events. We get between $500 and $10,000 during the event. The city council and the mayor's office put in an additional $100,000 this year. So there's a total of $300,000. There will be a education workshop training at Sorenson Community Center tomorrow, if you're interested in attending, 5:30. There's also one here at this library on October 23rd. So if you want to get more information on that, I'll got it around. Tech Link tracks the study. We had the Tech Link people come share some of the studies. We have 4 different alternatives that Waterfront Regional Council, the city, University of Utah have been working on. So please take a look at that. This is your opportunity to put your input in on the tracks lines that we're looking at for the next 30 years. Also, I talked with Sarah Nielsen and Housing Stability. They're in the process, housing stability is in the process of applying for that PRO grant from the federal government. Where we, the city, are intending on using ours after we're applying for the funding. We're intending on using our funding for the Fix the Brick program and community land trust. So if you want to go online, she's asking for your comments and support so that we can apply for those funds. There's a lot to that, but too much to share in this short time period. So I'm just going to give you Sarah's Nielsen's email. So it's Sarah.Nielsen@slc.gov. And a community land trust and it's the bricks. We also have. Oh, big planning, paving next week, October 7th and 8th, from 11th Ave in the South Temple on Virginia Street. This is part of our Funding Our Future, so that money is to be spent by the end of this year. So there will be no southbound traffic on Virginia Street over there in front of Shriners Hospital. It will be northbound. Dependent on the grubbing that they're taking up the old asphalt on the 7th and 8th, and then repaving on the 9th and 10th. So they're telling me expect at least a 30-minute delay, so I just say can avoid it, don't go there. But it'll be really nice, the curbs, the entryways have already been put in. It's one of those investments that comes along once in a lifetime too, when you get the general obligation bond. And if you want more information on that, you can go to the My Streets and put in Virginia Street. For that update. Department of Sustainability has their landscaping equipment exchange program. This is your opportunity as a city resident to apply, trade in your old gas related equipment, blowers, lawnmowers, and they're giving out grants for you to get up to $500, $600 for an electric lawnmower, snow blowers. That's available for city residents. One of our projects to help clean the air. That's all it's doing. We also have, sorry, there's so much. The Arts Council has a position available for their board from this district, District 4. So if you, council member Lopez, we're talking about the arts in this district. If you want to weigh in on that and you enjoy working in that area, they put grants together for artists. They do public art around the community, something that's exciting for you as a community member to be engaged, involved with. We have this Saturday, October 5th, we have the Hispanic Fiesta on Folsom Trail. It's a big project we worked on. You want to go out there and bring your bike from 12 to 4, and October 12th is, remember, is the Day of the Dead. How do you say that in Spanish? Dia de los Muertos. Say it again, Austin. Dia de los Muertos. It's at Charlie Square. I know, Nate's looking at me like, you don't have your Spanish. You don't have your Spanish down here. It's October 12th, at Charlie Square, from noon to 5. So it's right in, and then public safety building. Right here. October 25th is the Halloween Fun Fest. You can bring your kids out. Mayor's office will be up there. Fire will be up there. Police will be up there. Fun for the kids. Safe area. Come trick or treating. We also have our feedback community. If I miss anything, we still want to get feedback to us, the mayor, all the different divisions, departments on the projects that they're working on. Go to our feedback community webpage. And I'm also looking for other areas that I can host a community office hours. This is where you were very gracious in hosting this.
I know, you want to do it again, Tim? Is that why you're looking at me?
Over at the Liberty Rec Center, but this is when we, the mayor's office, goes out into the community, makes herself available. So we're not just sitting over at City Hall. We set up shop, coffee shop, and then promote and invite people to come talk to us in the local neighborhood, in the local area. So if you have any locations for me, I'm looking for a location for October and November. That's all I have on those things. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, so we're at the main event. We've got 2 big presentations and we don't have enough time listed yet. What we're gonna do is divide the time. So one group's gonna go till 7:12. The other group is gonna go till 7:30. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna flip an employee ID badge. So printed side is the county, blank side is school district, so we'll see who goes first.
That didn't really
Okay.
fit.
School district. Okay, so school districts will come up and talk about their proposed bond. So you got until 7:12. I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of questions. So I keep the presentation short and then a lot of questions.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Email a PowerPoint, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna borrow your recorder for just a second.
I can pull it up.
Oh.
too. Yeah, if you want to email it to me.
Yeah. Both the
No, no,
Wi-Fi, yeah, we're gonna do email.
I'll just type it in.
Oh, yes, that's fair, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, send it. I'll pull it up.
Okay, well, we're doing teamwork in here.
Yeah, it's learning.
Questions or. Direct go to the website. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I got it up. So And I can click how you want. Yep.
Oh, I should have done a PDF, so hot studio, I'm sorry.
Oh, you did.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us some time. Just to advise, is this the mic? Should I speak closer to it for Zoom? Okay, I'll stand over here. Oh, okay, well then, I'll travel it up. My name is Untitled Chapter and I work for the school district. I oversee the communications department and thank you so much for giving us some time. You all know Nate, our board president, who is a member of the Central City area. And I have a former member and a special spot member for this part of the city. So as you all probably know, the school district is going out for bond this year for $730 million. That is a large sum of money, and I want to share with you a little bit about what we hope to do if the bond passes. It is the first time, I do want to note this, the first time this century that the school district has gone out for bond. The last time was in 1999, so it has been a while since our residents have seen this on their ballots. In neighboring school districts, this happens a lot more frequently, but here for Salt Lake, it's been a minute. A lot of people weren't even born yet when we will be voting with selection last time that we went out for bond. So, thank you.
Next one.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I'll just say next slide. So here are the four main categories of things that we'll be doing with this money if the bond passes. So, first, rebuild of two high schools, West High School and Penn High School. Third thing is to build a modern athletic field house at East High School. I'll explain a little bit more about this, but just wanted to give a big overview. The fourth thing is to work on sustainability projects across the city. Next slide. Again, I pointed out, this is the first time the district has gone out to bond since 1999. And we've shown that we're able to be wise financial stewards. We try to do what we can with what we have and really only come to taxpayers only when we need to. We've been able to complete the last 4 construction projects in the district without going out for bond, just from savings and the capital levy, saving up here and there. But with the projects that are ahead of us, we are facing a dollar amount that we really want to save up for. Next slide. So a couple of reasons that this is a need right now. One, our school district does not receive any direct source of funding for capital improvements. There is that capital levy in small amounts, but the funds that we receive from the state legislature can't be used for capital funds. They can be used for classroom supplies and teacher salaries. And conversely, bond funds cannot be used for those items. We can raise teacher salaries with bond money. They have to be used for capital projects. Next slide. I'll start with West High School. So West High School, as many of you know, is over 100 years old. It's the oldest high school in the state. Long legacy and proud history there. But we are looking at a building that has just had a lot of patchwork repairs We can predict where it's gonna leak in the roof every season. We can predict where, you know, we might have issues with bats and other things. While that does add some character to West High School, we want to make sure that we're using our taxpayer dollars, not just to put Band-Aids on some of these problems, but really to invest in a facility that can keep up with student needs right now and into the future. We at West High School have a lot of, if you're in that original 1920 structure, there are a lot of really cool features in some of the classrooms because they were built so long ago. And while they have plate, some of those classrooms can't fit more than 17 desks, which limits the size of classrooms and limits for certain classes the number of students that can participate, especially in tech-based courses that are a little bit trickier to acquire and to, you know, work around a building as old as West High School is. Over the years, there's been additions to that building, 112 since 1922 when it opened. But we're really wanting to invest in a facility that can keep up with student needs now. Highland High School is a little newer, 1956, but faces a lot of the same infrastructure issues. So outdated HVAC, plumbing, outdated electrical. Again, we can predict if it rains more than this amount, watch out in the weight room, the sewage is gonna flood, things like that we really want to be avoiding. And it seems like our friends at bats have changed their migratory path a little bit. So now we have visitors at West and at Hammond. Next slide. Okay, sorry, that's a lot about those two schools. So if this fund passes, we're able to rebuild these schools. Part of the design would include a modern athletic field house at these schools. We don't have any in the district right now, but schools around the valley have these facilities. And actually, the Canyon School District, they had a Facebook post recently talking about how they've used those facilities in the recent bad air days and how it's useful year round, depending on what the weather's outside. Doesn't change the practices that can happen. It really is just it's another space for the school to use. It's not just for athletics. It can be used by say a marching band, which we don't have in the inter-school facilities. It could be used for music groups, for drill, for cheer, for all sorts of things. It can be used for classes, and so that's what we mean by athletic field house. It's a modern athletic space that can be used year round. It's an indoor type of facility. If we were to rebuild Highland and West, East would be left without a facility like that. And we did some polling in the spring. Well, by we, I mean White Analytics. White Analytics did some polling in the spring, and when we presented Salt Lake voters with different scenarios for a bond, should we go out to bond for 300 million, pick one of these two high schools and rebuild? Should we do 600 million? Rebuild both the high schools, or should we do all of it? And the word that kept coming up in focus groups was equity. We were really lucky to live in a community that supports public education, and the people who participated really spoke about the desire to benefit students across the city, and not just focus on one or two high schools. So that's why this is included, so that facilities at East High are lagging behind what Highland and West High would have with the law access. Thanks. And then the sustainability piece, Nate, we're here to jump in at any point, but the board 4 years ago passed really ambitious sustainability goals. Their aim is to be 100% carbon neutral and to use 100% clean energy resources. And with the funds that we have, we in 4 years we've been able to progress about 22% of the way there. But we've reached the peak of what we can do without additional funds. Some of this bond money would go towards sustainability projects, which I'll detail in a couple more slides, but it would get us about 70% of the way on both of those factors, the renewable energy and the carbon neutrality. If you really want to get into the detail, these are the schools that would get solar power generation. There are 13 schools. You can see there's middle schools and elementary and horizontal, and even their district office building across the city. So this is spreading the impact of that on citywide. And then the next slide shows about the electrification of heat pumps and controls. There are 12 different schools in that one district office building. And that auxiliary services building is where our child nutrition is housed, our IT department, our purchasing, our warehouse. So a lot of the people we don't think about when we think about schools, but the people who are critical in keeping us running every day. Thank you. Okay, so, you know, we talk about 730 million, that's a really big number, but I like to look at numbers and think of how it applies to me. So for the median household value in Salt Lake City, of course, there are many homes above the ones below. The median household value is $576,000, and the impact is $38.33 per year for every $100,000 of home value. So that means that for that median home value in the city, the impact ends up being about $4.25 a week, which is less than driving to the Starbucks in North South and getting yourself a tall cafe latte. Or if you're the sweet persuasion, getting yourself a 40-ounce raspberry dream with wine. That's one. Is that your drink? That's my drink. See, I gotta find it myself. And the impact on businesses is a little bit higher, $67.70 per year for every $100,000 of business value. Next slide. Now I do want to point out that we understand that there is a lot on the ballot that will impact voters' pocketbooks this cycle. We've been hearing about another one. We know utilities going up in the city, but I just want to stress again that we only have the taxpayers when we need to, and we have done our best to keep our tax levy low. So that green line is the state average for school districts. This is just school districts, not all entities, but this is the average property tax levy in the state of Utah for school districts. The red line is where Salt Lake School District currently is, and if the bond passes, we move up to that yellow line. So even if the bond does pass and that amount gets approved, we still will be pretty low in terms of looking at where we rank with other school districts in the state. So we do have a couple more opportunities. We've had one open house, and we have 2 more coming up. One is next Wednesday at Edison Elementary. We'll have Spanish translation available, and are happy to make sure that we have other language translators on site if other community members require that. It's open house style, so there are different stations. So if folks just want to hear about sustainability, they can do that. They just want to hear about West High School because that's where their kids go to school, and they can do that opportunity for the Q&A. We'll also have our architects who did feasibility studies for Highland and West High School a couple years ago. They will be the same architects who will design the schools and see the project through if the bond passes. So we felt it was important for community members to have access to those experts as well. And so we hope that you'll come and join us either at Edison Elementary on the 9th or later this month at Highland School. There's more info on our website, and the QR code that's on your flyer will take you there. And there are a few things you'll find on our website, including FAQ. We have this one-pagers there if you want to print it out and hand out the fuzzies. It's available in other languages on our website, translated into the top languages used in our community. So lots of information there. And then I wanted to point out too that our website is in English, but there's a translation function. So if somebody needs to see the material in a different language, there's an icon on the bottom left where they can select the language of their choice and be in our website and populate the language. So after the bond, we'll continue to inform online about our projects. So just point out that we will have that information available online. And again, if you moved recently, if you haven't updated the registration, you changed your name or something like that, use the link for you and update that, make your voice heard, all the very information in our communities. I'm happy to answer any questions. That's all I've got.
Thanks. You got like 6 minutes for questions. Make sure that email address.
Oh, sorry.
I was
It's
at the
mine.
presentation at the network meeting. Oh yeah, online, yes, the Zoom meeting. And the issue came up of the 4 school closures not being factored into the financial assessments here. For me, I really need to build those 4 sites and possibly more sites. Because 4 was not putting on our list potentially talked about closing. So I really, those are assets, and I don't see them figured into the financials. And me as a business person, we're not talking about something that's a multiple of $100,000. And the real estate value, we're talking about a lot more, and you're in a neighborhood that's 84% renters. So this bond drives a rent increase for my tenants. And I don't see any information from the closure of the schools on the table. So that came up with the network, and I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, great.
Short term.
Yes, so I do want to point out, the board voted to close 4 schools last year. We never gave a number that we were aiming to close. There were 7 schools on the study list, but that didn't necessarily correlate with the number that, the district report aimed to close. So just want to clarify that point. These 4 schools that were closed, nothing's been determined quite yet. We still need to do a lot of analysis. We need to bring in community input. There's a lot of work that we need to do, and if I'm being honest with you, that work won't be done before the elections. And this is an issue that's been in the works for a while as we've been looking at the capital needs in the district. And I want to point out that while $730 million is the overall amount that would be approved, it doesn't mean that that's how much we would necessarily take out. If by the end of the year, there were some sort, and again, this is a hypothetical, I'm not speaking for anything that might happen about those 4 schools, but if say that the board were to decide to sell one of the properties, to use some of that money to offset costs, then we wouldn't issue $730 million of bonds. Maybe we could issue 600 or 650, or I have no idea, I'm real estate guys, so I'm just throwing out numbers here, but that's the max amount that voters would approve, but that doesn't mean that we would issue the full amount. It's just a timing thing, but that won't be finalized before the election, but it is something that's on minds that I know board members have heard that a lot.
Yeah.
So I know it's something that's on their minds. But if
The
you
only
would
thing
have
I
anything,
add that Andre, for you, Cindy, is that we have found ourselves in a unique situation where we're a school district that hasn't been in a position of what to do with land and property, and we don't have anything in our policies, anything that we can really refer to the state code. We probably find more information from what's in our city code, quite honestly, about what it is to develop land, what that looks like. So we're in the process right now. Our policy subcommittee is going to be meeting next week, I believe. The direction from the board of the superintendent was to work with the policy subcommittee and develop some kind of process or administrative procedures on what we do with property, right? The closest things that we have right now in kind of the tenor of where the board's at right now is that these properties ideally should be retained by the district in our portfolio. It should be assets for students and student learning and the community secondary to that. So that's kind of the framework, the very brief framework that we're working within and around right now. And we'll see more about what that looks like as far as the process goes and how we do that moving forward.
hopefully it works. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
for
Sarah.
coming. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, nice job. Okay, I'm
Goal is to be shorter than that.
I'm gonna pull up yours.
So my name is Arlen Bradshaw. I am District 1 representative to the County Council. And it's great to be here in the city. 15 years ago, I lived across the street, the Library Square condominium. This was my community council. Back then, we used to meet the senior center. So it's a little bit different over the years nonetheless. So I'm here to also talk about the general obligation bond that will be on the ballot in November. Or even October, we did it now and September. John probably said this, and you're probably aware, but the general obligation bond is that the voters let local governments take on for capital projects. And the reason we choose to go to bonds as opposed to just using our general property taxes is because at the end of the day, it nets out to less money that you have to pay on an annual basis. That's why we use bonds. This is the process. We go through to use the government. So the county, at the end of the day, our basic responsibility is public safety and our different roles within the safety system here in the county. The number one public safety facility that we provide is the county jail. County jails are responsible for holding individuals that are either awaiting trial and a judge has determined that they need to stay in jail until their trial, or they have been sentenced to fewer than 12 months in jail rather than going to prison. And so those are the individuals that go to the county jail, and the county is responsible for
taken care of, until their, cases are, fully adjudicated and they've served the time that they're sentenced to. We are all Salt Lake City residents, and we know that in recent years, we've seen, or rather, we are all enduring a fair amount of uptick in individuals on the street, petty crime, you know, a number of issues that we all encounter. And the county has developed a comprehensive human services, homeless services, and criminal justice plan to help support our partners here in Salt Lake City and the state to help lessen these issues and help the individuals that need help. So what this plan does at the end of the day is we are currently, we have about 2,400 beds that are jail beds between the Oxbow jail and what we call the ADC, the Adult Detention Center. This plan is going to increase that by about 800 beds, and about 300 of those beds are going to be non-traditional, low-level service beds, if you will, beds that we will utilize directly to help people, and I'll go a little bit more into that. So I don't have a ton of slides. The slides help me make sure I'm talking about the right things. So the county's proposal is to expand the Adult Detention Center, which is about 35th South and 900 West. It's the largest county jail in the state. We haven't added a jail bed to the system since about 2001. And the ADC itself has about 2,100 beds, roughly, capacity at any given time. And it does essentially operate at capacity day to day. So our plan is to improve that facility, to add beds to that facility, and at the same time, close the Oxbow jail. So the Oxbow jail is just up the street. It's about 30th South and 900 West. The Oxbow jail is the old county jail. It was actually mothballed for a number of years, and then we needed beds. So we have been trying to fix it up and tape it together and use part of that facility. We've been using it largely for treatment beds for a number of years. But it's also just an old building that at the end of the day, the capital costs, the deferred maintenance, all of that, it is just not cost effective to keep that facility running. So we want to completely close the Oxbow jail. Then we can consolidate all of our operations at the ADC, so it'll be a lot more efficient. I mean, right now we have food going up the street from the ADC to Oxbow. We have laundry going from Oxbow down to the ADC. It's not the most efficient system. So we just want to consolidate all of that at the ADC. Cindy, to your point, part of the financials you're going to see is we think we can sell that land for around $20 million, and that will go into the project of the construction. The other part of this, in addition to the new bed at the ADC, the new pod at the ADC, we want to build what we're calling the Justice and Accountability Center, which, you know, might not be the best name, but we've been trying to figure out a way to describe this facility in which low-level offenders are held, or individuals as they work their way through their sentence at the jail can potentially move to the JAC, as it's called. And within that facility, it's a residential facility. It's not directly connected to the jail, but it would be in the same vicinity as the jail. But it is largely will service to help individuals who are soon to leave the system, be connected with housing, be connected with different services, be connected to treatment if they need that. And really just set them up for some level of success as they leave the facility. The reason you might guess why that is because right now, a lot of folks, you know, they serve their time or they're there temporarily, and it's kind of a revolving door. We get a lot of frequent flyers, a lot of people who, you know, they might come to the jail monthly, but they're not violent. So they're not going to be held in the jail. A judge isn't going to have us hold them there. But at the end of the day, they probably need some additional services and additional help rather than just pushing them out the front door. Yeah, you know, once they're booked. So that's essentially the concept behind the JAC. Also within the beds at the ADC, we envision what we're calling a step down center, which is a shorter term, but also where you would still be incarcerated, if you will. But before you leave the facility, you might move into some lower level security beds, but also be connected with more services before you're released from the jail. We do have systems in place now that connect people with services. but at the end of the day, we don't have the space to hold people kind of not indefinitely, but to really connect people with all the services that they might need before we need to get them out the door, because like I said, we're always running at capacity. So this concept is really to help the system overall. So that individuals are reducing the recidivism and hopefully helping them get off the streets, solving their issues more long term. So yeah, I think I've mentioned all of these things. We're hoping that this reduces crime, improve accountability for those frequent flyers. We want to connect with resources, and we'll be enhancing medical and mental health focus within the jail. Right now, we have about 88 beds within the jail itself that are focused on individuals experiencing mental health episodes. If this bond passes, we will be able to double that number. And that is in addition to the Huntsman Mental Health Receiving Center, which is going to come online early next year, also down at the jail, which is focused on individuals experiencing mental health crisis. So we're trying to break the cycle of repeat offenses. And again, we haven't added jail beds since 2001. So clearly we are overdue, but adding beds alone isn't the solution. We need beds and services for those individuals. So at the end of the day, what are the dollars? So I will mention that the net number of new beds is about 800, 800 new beds, 300 as part of that Justice Accountability Center, 500 at the ADC itself. One thing about the JAC is because it's a more low level security facility, it actually costs us less to have people there connecting them with services. So right now it costs us about $136 a day for individuals within the jail. When the JAC is operational, we estimate that's going to be not quite half that, but only about $75 a day. And again, that's getting people connected to services. So it's a savings and it's going to produce better outcomes. So if the county council put this on the ballot in a bipartisan fashion at the recommendation of Mayor Wilson. And this is just one part of a multifaceted plan to address the issues that I think we all have experienced within the city and county-wide. And also note that this is a county-wide bond. So whereas the numbers you saw from the school district are just for Salt Lake City, the household impact you're going to see is significantly lower because we're spreading it throughout the entire county, not just on Salt Lake City. And so I think that might be on the next slide. But here's the budget. So the JAC is about $100 million of the total. Jail expansion and improvement is $427 million, plus the improvements to the facility, which are $90 million. We do have to knock down Oxbow, but we think we'll get $20 million out of that property. That's the kind of the flyby estimate right now. And then the past several years, the county council recognizing that we need to do something big, we've been pre-funding a project, and now the project has come up, but we already have $100 million in set aside for this project overall. So that's where we get to the $507 million bond. So the impact on the average property value of 602,000, almost 602,000, the average countywide, kind of blows my mind, but is $491 a month, so about $60 annually. And then about $893 a month or $9, 9 times 12 for the average business commercial property. And I think that's pretty much it. This is all really just summary, so I'd rather just get to any questions you might have regarding the bond. This is contact information, sorry, for Brad Townley, who works for the mayor. But if you go to slco.to/bond, that is where you can find all the information on the bond and probably things that I have forgotten to say. But the information's all there. You can also contact Brad or me. I'm AR at slco.org. And yeah, what questions can I answer for you? I left us 10 minutes for questions. Yeah.
Yes, so I think people in Salt Lake City, especially Central City, we see the impacts of homelessness and criminal activity every day. Selling this to, let's say, Roland Harriman or Draper, like, how is that gonna work? Like,
yeah, so we feel like we have pretty broad support countywide. It's funny you mentioned Harriman.
It was an 8-1 vote on the county council, and the representative that represents that very southwest corner was the one vote that didn't support it. And part of his reasoning was simply financial. But there is very broad-based support. All of the at-large members that represent the entire county supported the bond. And my other colleagues are also going to their communities throughout the county explaining why this is important. And the reality is, I mean, even if you live in a suburban community within the county, you go downtown and you can see the problems. And it's really a statewide conversation. But I think that the residents of our county by and large are compassionate, and I think they recognize we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. But there are jail beds included, and some people want the jail beds, and some of us definitely want the additional treatment options that this is going to provide, and we're doing our best to try to sell it. I shouldn't say that. We are trying to educate the public about what this would do. At the end of the day, if the bond doesn't pass, we're gonna have to go back and kind of figure things out in how we can move forward in a different way. It wouldn't be as ambitious, which I think would be unfortunate. And it would require general fund dollars, which probably means a general property tax increase, which at the end of the day really isn't the best deal for the taxpayers. Yeah, Tim, are you about to raise your hand?
Yeah, I just.
You don't live in Salt Lake, right?
I live in Salt Lake.
Oh, do you?
Salt Lake County.
Well, no, I know, but not Salt Lake City, but you were in one of those suburban cities, I just.
One was just clarification, the 800 jail beds in JAC, is that in addition to the loss from?
Yeah, so we would be netting 800 total new. So right now, there's about 2,100 beds at the ADC and a little less than, well, about a little over 300 in Oxbow that are operational. Part of Oxbow is still mothballed, but yeah, so it takes into account we're losing those beds, but between the additional beds at the ADC and the JAC, the net increase is 800 new beds.
And then there's not another general obligation bond for the county this year. I was understanding there might be one for parks. Is that? Oh, yeah.
The other county question is the reauthorization of the ZAP tax. So that's not property tax, that's an existing sales tax that, if you're not familiar with the Zoo Arts and Parks tax, it funds our zoo arts and parks.
Very popular.
It is very popular. And we have to have it reauthorized every 10 years. So it is somewhat unfortunate that it lined up on the same year, but in reality, we needed to move. And we think that will speak for itself. We think people generally support that. And that's not a new tax. That's just the ongoing 10-year reauthorization to keep that in place. Yeah,
Thanks, Artie.
So when you're talking about like the full scale jail and then the JAC, how it's cheaper, how's it cheaper to run that per person?
Yeah, it's largely because of the lower level of security and that it will not be under the command of the sheriff's office, meaning it will be operated largely by civilians. They will have the support of the sheriff's office should it be needed. But when you have the jail, it's all within the sworn command structure of the sheriff's office, which is just a much more expensive at a personal level to operate than we anticipate the JAC being. And we also anticipate it being a shorter term of stay. So hopefully you're helping people in a fashion that is getting them through rather than just holding them for a period of time. That makes sense. But it really comes down to that personnel cost between civilians. And overall security, because it will be a much more low level security facility. Yeah.
If you have 100 million that you planned for, what would be the priority? How would you divide up the pie to use that if the bond doesn't pass?
If the bond doesn't pass, I don't think I can speak to that with any authority.
Understood.
Because yeah, if the bond doesn't pass, like I said, I think we'll go back to square one. I think that the consolidation though, and kind of getting rid of Oxbow, I think has to happen at some point because the facility is going to continue to deteriorate. So, but But I think if the bond doesn't pass, we'll have to answer that question more thoroughly than I can.
You used to talk about additional mental health services, do you have any specifics on what that looks like inside the jail?
So a couple things. So one thing that the county has done in partnership with Uni is the construction of the Huntsman Mental Health Receiving Center, which is just about done, that is on 35th South and 9th West. That facility is going to be available to all law enforcement throughout the county. Rather, if they determine, or a mobile crisis outreach team determines that someone is in mental health crisis and does not necessarily require jail booking, they can take them directly to that receiving center facility. So that's coming online early next year, and we've spent 10 years trying to get that facility planned out and ready to go. So that's number one. And then within the jail, we have those 88 beds that I referenced, and the county directly employs, and we have contract social workers that come directly into the jail, and individuals who have been sentenced, but also display persistent mentally ill characteristics. They do receive treatment while they're in the jail. And with this plan, the 88 beds we have right now, we want to double that to what is that? 170-ish. So that gets it to your question.
Kind of, not as a city employee, as a taxpayer, voter, I'm very skeptical. Just in general, as someone that's studied all this stuff, but hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm giving the mayor talking about.
Clearly a jail is not the best place to receive mental health treatment. But at the end of the day, they are beds that are set aside, and it is more of a mental health facility as opposed to being within the general population, and that's what we can do within the facility. So. Any other questions? Okay, 7:30.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, everybody.